Hello, Internet. So today I kind of wanted to talk about, so-called urbanism and why I really don't like it. I mean, fundamentally, I don't dislike the whole concept. I can play this in the background. And fundamentally, I don't dislike the concept of having like good public transportation, you know, good trains, good bus system, good good everything. But it's a lot of people try to use Asia as an example of like what it could look like. But a lot of people who bring up Asia as an example of what America could look like, they kind of miss the reasons why Asian society is like that. And they also, they kind of like make like a fundamental assumption that like all people or all races will behave the same. But it's not true. I mean, an American of any race is not going to behave like a largely Japanese or largely Chinese society. It's just not going to happen. I mean, the thing with... if you want people to be using public transportation, like at the very minimum, people always talk about coverage. They talk about theories as to why public transportation got so neglected in the U.S. Because, actually, once upon a time, America had an extensive streetcar and, passenger rail network. And then the automobile came out and the interstate highways. And we have what we have now. But to all paint it as a giant conspiracy theory of the auto industry is simplistic. I feel like we often ignore, like a lot of liberals in America like to ignore, like the state of like inner cities in America. I'm not quite sure why. I think the reason is because most of them don't actually live in those cities. Or if they do, they don't live, they live in the nicer neighborhoods. But if you want people to actually use transportation, at the very minimum, you have to feel safe and it has to feel clean. For it to be safe and clean, you need rules, and for rules to actually have effect, you need to enforce them. You can't have lax systems because people will take advantage of it, and you need workers who are going to enforce those rules. Today I was on the light rail. And there's just some crazy guy. He was like yelling like at the top of his lungs, like yelling threats at not at anybody in the car, but I guess somebody he knew. And it's just, that guy could have been violent. He very well could have. He wasn't in the right mental state. And you have the option of either you can like put up with that, or you can have a car. Why would you ever choose the light rail over a car? And the ridership in these trains, it's mostly people who can't afford cars. It's not people who don't choose to have cars because they feel it's not convenient. It's just people who can't afford one, largely. There's some exceptions. It's either that or students. I mean, there's a contradiction with California where, I mean, the rhetoric's always high, it's always lofty, but you look through like the society, and it's off. I mean, in a way, it's kind of hard to take seriously a state that, talks so much about climate change. But, even the Bay Area. I mean, the Bay Area. What else is there to say? I mean, if you're not in San Francisco, you can't really use it. I mean, at best, you can park and ride from the Caltrain station if you're lucky enough for your work to be near a Caltrain station, but most people aren't. I mean, if you don't live in the city itself, you're going to want public transportation. And that's just the perception. You need to change the perception. I mean, like, you need policing. You can't just be lax on policing, be lax on rule enforcement. Create unsafe, unclean, modes of transit where, like, the lower class of society will drift towards it. Then you don't, like, you scare away, like, everybody else. Because right now there's 10-15% of people make use of public transportation in America, and maybe even that's being generous. I mean, it's more than coverage, it's more than frequency, like, it's more than funding. Like, there's a fundamental mindset. Like, I like the idea of having nice trains. Like, I really do. Like, I love... I spent a decent amount of time in Japanese cities, like, going around them. And the public transportation is amazing there. I mean, why? I mean, people were quiet. People were behaved. It could take you anywhere. The trains were frequent. It was clean. It's the opposite of everything here. I mean, it creates like a contradiction. I mean, there's many reasons why this, the SAC-RT system isn't particularly good. But, it's just, if there's one thing that, like, encapsulates, like, the entire... I mean, it encapsulates, like, the public transit, but it also encapsulates, like, the democratic mindset, too. It's the, they have a thing where, like, if you're between, like, kindergarten and 12th grade, you're able to ride on it for free. But what do you think happens when a bunch of teenagers can ride the light rail for free and they don't have to pay? Yeah, it's not nice. It doesn't create a good... They don't behave particularly well. Like, you're just gonna scare away, like, the normal people riding the train. I mean... If trains are going to be like this, obviously people are going to go for their car. Like, they're only going to be forced in a public transportation. Like, I wouldn't... If I had a young kid, like, I wouldn't be comfortable with them. Especially if I had a young girl. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable with them taking this transportation system, like, every day. I mean, the odds of you, like, getting violently hurt aren't terribly high. But it's enough that you would rather not. You wouldn't want to be there. Unless you're forced to, you wouldn't want to be there. Like, it's not a good experience. I mean, so you have a, like a contradiction where you want to create like mass transit for all and get people away from cars. But and then you give out like free tickets to like K through 12. And then they abuse the system, the system gets clean, it gets unsafe. Then you scare away like the more normal commuters or whoever away from the system. I mean, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, one of the problems with like the urbanist like sphere in general is that, I mean, cities in America like always like skew leftist. And leftists have a tendency to just ignore like certain things that are inconvenient for their worldview. And they make some assumptions that that I think are just proving out to be terribly wrong. But if you're raised in like a not sheltered, but like if you're kind of like raised in a somewhat half decent environment, like you're not going to be exposed to the full consequences really of like what they're advocating for. And then and a lot of the consequences too, they're gradual. Like they're not stuff that happens immediately. Like they're things that play out decades down the road. I mean, it's just... I mean, people ignore... If Democrats want to create, like, truly great cities that people actually want to live in and flock towards, and, like, get people out of the suburbs, then they need to build, they need to get better transit, they need more policing, they need to stop being naive about certain groups. I'm not saying target them, but stop pretending that everybody is the same. They're not. Okay, goodbye.